On Wednesday, January 8th, 2020, notice of this meeting was mailed to the press and the Current of Egg Harbor Township. Notice was also delivered that day to the Egg Harbor Township Clerk and posted on the bulletin board in Township Hall. Streaming instructions for this meeting was posted on our website and on social media on Friday, November 13th.
May we have roll call, please?
Mr. Delabarca is absent. Mrs. Gilbert Floyd?
Here.
Mr. Price?
Mr. Price is here.
Mrs. Sullivan? Here. Mrs. Summer is absent. Mrs. Salagi? Here. Mrs. Byrd? Here. And Mr. Castellano?
Here. Okay, can we all please stand and salute the flag?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I'm going to ask for a motion on the minutes. That would be 4.1 through 4.9.
Mr. Price, I make that motion.
Mr. Castellano, if we can hold the motion for the minutes until the December meeting. It was a lot for this meeting. We want the board to digest them, if that's okay. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right, we're going to hold the minutes until December. Okay, so again, I just want to welcome everyone to our regular November business meeting and take just another opportunity to thank our teachers and staff for the outstanding job that they're doing. I can't say enough how much I and all of us appreciate what you're doing to keep this going through these very difficult times. We all know that we are into, whether you want to call it a surge, a second wave, what have you, cases in the pandemic are rising. We all know that. So it's even more important now than ever that we work together to get through this. And I know that we will. There is constantly changing circumstances as well as constantly changing guidance that we have to adhere to. So you may have seen a new executive order that came out. By and large, that's not going to affect us in schools because we're already covered by other authority. We are going to discuss both where we are in terms of our cases and as we move through the superintendent's report, and we're also a little later going to talk about how we'll conduct our meetings moving forward in light of the new Department of Community Affairs regulations that really does kind of change quite a bit the rules of the road for conducting meetings. So with that, thank you again to all. And again, I want to congratulate all of our candidates. We still do not have certified results, but congratulations to all. And we will now go ahead and move to our superintendent's report.
Test. Okay, thank you, Mr. Castellano. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our November business meeting. We do my best here presenting the superintendent's report, and did a couple different things that are different. So we'll see how it goes. All right, see if my links work. All right, so I want to start off with this report to remind everyone about the district newsletter that comes out every Monday. Comes out from central office. It entails a plethora of information for the community to read up on, and it's always starts off with our current reality, which is a little note from myself reminding everyone about what's going on in the district. And this week we celebrate American Education Week. We'll talk a little bit about that more as I go through the presentation. Also, that this is the month of gratitude, and I really promote the importance of being positive in our daily lives, because there is always something positive every day and something that everyone should be thankful for every day. We are seeing our COVID-19 cases rise county-wise and district-wise, and again, I will cover that personally with you tonight. okay? So also, as you scroll down, it's a lengthy document, but it does cover the many things that are going on, some of the things that we post on our district social media and our district website. It also gives parent information on our hybrid schedule. And again, I stress that each section is centered around our district learning goals. So for student achievement, you can gather some information that's going on here in the classrooms. And then under climate and culture, we talk about the culture, climate and culture. And each week I try to update, or every other week I try to update these sections. But this section right here, in terms of our welcome mat, you can see all the new employees that were hired throughout the summer. And as we continue to post jobs and, you know, hire new employees, we will add to that. We have our mental health section, our social emotional piece, and resources for our parents. So everything is right here, one-stop shopping. There's some videos. Under community partnerships, our project graduation, it's time that they're selling their tickets for their raffle at the end of the year. Sustainable New Jersey, and it just goes on. Yes, we still need substitutes. But what I want to get to is, at the end of this document, here's your turf update. At the end of the document, there's a section right here where you can click on the links here and learn about what's going on at each school. So each principal is doing what I do each week, giving an example of a school here. The principal will give you a message, talks about what's going on, and then you can see what's going on at each school. So it's pretty exciting. I can't wait each week until I get you know, the links so I can see what's going on in the school. So again, I want to stress that is available every week. It's placed on our social media sites, and you can get to it with a couple clicks here and there and learn a whole lot about us. Okay, my superintendent report is based on our student learning goals and under student achievement, and you'll see this if you click through those links, that our virtual choir and our thespians and our band have taken part in virtual projects that they have shared with us. You'll see in the video some of their work. Professional development is ongoing each week for our faculty and staff. On Mondays, the Professional Development Committee put out an assessment survey to see what the needs of the teachers are, and we try to meet those needs each week through professional development. Hybrid teaching model, equity and tech support were offered yesterday. And I just want to remind everyone, you know, we are following the curriculum, and we want to stress to our teachers that, you know, it's difficult. Not everything is going to be covered, all right? So we're doing the best job that we can. We are in a difficult situation, but we don't want it to be a pressure situation either. So while, you know, the curriculum is there and there's standards that have to be met, you know, we're doing our best, but we're not moving at the pace that we have in the past, and we ask parents and students to be patient as well. Our Gifted and Talented program, I wanted to share this. Oh, I guess I'm not. Page doesn't exist, but it certainly does. It's in our s'mores. Let's see if I go down in the back here. I told you I was experimenting. Here we go. So the GT Times, every couple of months it will come out, and Mrs. Hunt and the teachers from Fernwood get together, and they share what's going on. So it's real neat to see some of the STEM projects that these kids are doing, out of the box learning that they're doing, and that's going on in grades 4, 5, 6 in our school district. Okay, so climate and culture, American Education Week is celebrated this week. That's in conjunction with National Education Association, and in normal times, you know, we would bring parents into the classrooms. Well, we can't do that. In normal times, we would have students maybe be a teacher for the day, and it's a little difficult in the situation we're in. So all we're doing is asking staff to recognize American Education Week, be creative and innovative in any way that you can, and but at least let folks know that today's the week that we celebrate education and all the great things that people who work in our school, as well as our Board of Education does to support education. So it's important to recognize everything from, you know, the bus driver who gets the kids to school, to the crossing guard, to the cafeteria worker that prepares that food and serves, teachers, paras, administrators, custodians, secretaries. So everybody, all of us, the team that we have here in Egg Harbor Township, and we appreciate all the work that's done. Veterans Day celebrations took place this week. Our students were researching and learning about the meaning of Veterans Day, honoring Veterans Day, the different projects that they have. I mentioned the month of gratitude. I stressed that it's very important to be positive and thankful for all the things that we have in our daily lives. And each week when I write to the staff, I let them know that, just take a moment to breathe, take a moment to focus on what their day is about and what they're thankful for. And I am certainly thankful for the efforts that they put in to joining us through this journey of COVID-19 pandemic and the road back to school. Community partnerships, even though it's difficult to do in-person drives and fundraisers, our teachers and advisors and students have presented ideas to me for food and clothing drives during this time of the year. So I think that it's a very nice gesture, and I support their innovation and whatever they can do to pull off gathering items for the needy. I mentioned before, project graduation tickets are for sale. A project graduation committee person has the tickets, and it's advertised on our website and advertised on social media if you're interested in purchasing one. And a shout out to the Egg Harbor Township Police Department, who has worked closely with us during the return to school. They're present at our schools in the morning, work closely with our Class 3 officers and our security department to make sure that our students and staff are safe arriving and departing from schools. COVID-19 update regarding Egg Harbor Township High School, Egg Harbor Township School District, high school included. We have a dashboard that we share on our district website. So a lot of people say, where? I go to your website and this is what I see. Well, scroll down and here's the COVID-19 update at this time. We are being transparent. We are sharing, as many school districts and businesses are, the dashboard in terms of the cases. Mr. Castellano mentioned that cases are going up in the county. Cases are going up in school districts all around us. It's how you deal with the cases. We are a very large school district in a very large county, so numbers are going to be higher than the town that I live in, which has a small school district and a small population. Okay, the cases here, majority are outside contacts and cases that are being brought into the school district, more so than inside spread. So we are very proud that our buses and our buildings are clean and our safety guidelines are in place, and that our students and staff are following those guidelines inside our buildings. But again, the majority is occurring outside, sicknesses are outside, and then being brought into the schools. So we have constant reminders out there that we require mask wearing, social distancing, sanitizing and washing of hands, and a daily health screen that takes place in the mornings that staff and students need to fill out and let us know if they're feeling anything less than well. It's important that you do not come to school or work if you are not feeling well. It's important if you are presenting or feeling symptoms, go get a test, find out what's going on, all right? Executive Order 196 was just shared by the governor in writing this morning, and what that states, some different guidelines, but they do not apply to schools because schools are not considered gathering places. I'm going to let Mrs. Elko speak a little bit on that, but regarding 196, it is applicable to more so the public. We are still following the executive order prior to, where we will follow the guidelines that the road back to school has outlined for us. Mrs. Elko, if you don't mind.
Sure, thank you, Dr. Gruccio. As Dr. Gruccio indicated, the governor signed Executive Order 196. 196 does go ahead and limit certain number of individuals back to 10 for indoor gatherings, but it does specifically include in there that legislative proceedings of state, county, or local government, including local boards of education, and state and local judicial proceedings are not subject to the capacity limits on gatherings in this or any other applicable executive order. In addition, right now, we're following Executive Order 175 with regard to the road back to school, as well as the various versions of that we have to follow in providing information to the Executive County Superintendent. So at this point, the limitation on the number 10 is not impacted by the governor's most recent executive order.
Okay, there's also rumors flying around that the governor was going to close schools. The governor made that clear that that was clearly a rumor, but it raises a question about school closure. So there's no clear guideline that says if you hit this number, you have to close a school or this percentage. The state of New Jersey is yellow right now, which it goes green, yellow, orange, and red. So we are in the yellow color, which means, we have to monitor, what's going on in our surrounding area. County superintendents met last week, and the message there is monitor your situation, look at your current reality, look at your community, and see the effects in your school. School closure could be based on cases. One set of criteria is if you have 2 cases where there's unknown contact, where, in other words, if I work in the same building as Steve, which we do, and I, God forbid, test positive, but I have no idea where I contacted it, and Steve is in that same situation, then our building would have to be closed. Based on the research that we have over the 40 cases that we have not got into that situation yet. But school closure, you may hear in other school districts, is also based on substitute supply and demand, staffing. But our focus is sufficient education to students. Any closure would be in conjunction and collaboration with the Atlantic County Department of Public Health and the Atlantic County Superintendent. Okay, so every day, trust me, this is ongoing discussion countywide and district-wide as we review cases and we share out what's going on in the public. So I just want to share with the Board of Education and those of the public who are here, this is a document that I received from the County Health Department because people had questions. What is a contact of a contact, all right? So a contact of a contact is a person who is a contact of someone who has been in close contact with a positive person, all right? The person who was not in close contact with the positive person, but is in close contact of someone else who is around a positive person within 6 feet for more than 15 minutes. This is the new guidelines now. Within 6 feet for more than cumulative 15 minutes throughout the day. So the example is, if a student's mom was in close contact with a positive coworker, the student is considered a contact of a contact. The mom is a close contact, all right? So these are just some examples, but the question that we get every day is, should contacts of contacts be tested? The answer from the Department of Health is no. Being the contact of someone who has close contact with a person who has COVID-19 does not warrant testing. For example, if you have a coworker whose family member is a confirmed case, you would not need to be tested. Despite coming into contact with that coworker, you did not have close contact with the person who actually has COVID-19. So what you could do is monitor yourself for symptoms, practice good hygiene. If you notice you have symptoms and you don't feel well, get medically evaluated, contact your health provider, and don't go to work if you're not feeling well. All right, so hopefully that clears up. But you have the terminology we're using: close contact, contact of a contact. Okay. Okay, Dr. Charlton, if you can assist me here. Yeah, that's okay.
Thank you, Dr. Gruccio. The pandemic has obviously brought a lot of challenges to the school district. One of them is the fact that we have not been able to properly recognize our current Teachers of the Year and Educational Service Professionals of the Year, who were announced last December. Typically, that would take place at the April board meeting, and this room would be wall-to-wall people with those honorees' children, parents, family, and friends. And we've tried to kind of delay. We went to May, June. Obviously, it didn't work out. Came back to September, and here we are in November. In just a few weeks, the class of 2021-22 will be announced in December to the school community. So I was talking to Dr. Gruccio, we said we still need to get these people in here and give them a proper recognition so their families can see them. It's a once-in-a-lifetime event, and if you can picture yourself being the honoree, wanting your children to be there and seeing you and remembering that for years to come, it is a family treasure, a family memory. So the other thing is we also didn't want to go into announcing to the school community whose next year honorees are before at least giving a video tribute to these people. Okay, so what we're going to do right now in the Comm Academy at the high school, work with Mrs. Mullen. They came up with a really nice video. It's a couple of minutes long, and it will introduce you to all the people that are current teachers of the year and current educational services professionals of the year, which, by the way, an ESP is paraprofessional, case manager, secretary. These are the people that support our educational process. And then when the time comes, and we all don't have a crystal ball, obviously, to know what month that's going to be, we will honor both classes of honorees at a board meeting. In a room, correct.
Egg Harbor Township School District wishes to congratulate our teachers and education service professionals of the year. Swift Elementary School.
Teacher of the Year, Mrs. Jody Tortolessa.
Education Service Professional of the Year, Miss Amy Hogan.
Sleigh Ball Complex.
Teacher of the Year, Mrs. Jillian Swigert.
Education Service Professional of the Year, Miss Jill McElhenney.
Davenport Complex.
Teacher of the Year, Mrs. Christina Hampton.
Education Service Professional of the Year, Miss Regina Budd.
Miller Elementary School.
Teacher of the Year, Mr. David Baldwin.
Education Service Professional of the Year, Miss Rachel Schooler.
Alder Avenue Middle School.
Teacher of the Year, Mrs. Dorothy Kalinowski.
Education Service Professional of the Year, Miss Janine Iacovelli.
Fernwood Avenue Middle School.
Teacher of the Year, Mrs. Andrea Creer.
Education Service Professional of the Year, Miss Concetta Carmen.
Egg Harbor Township High School.
Teacher of the Year, Mr. Ryan Smith.
Education Service Professional of the Year, Mr. Gerald Fetcher.
Congratulations to all of our recipients, and thank you to the Communications Academy for their assistance in this presentation.
I know they're watching online, so let's give them a round of applause.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Charlton, for putting that together. Thank you, Mrs. Mullen and the Comm Academy for assisting us with that production. Okay, turf update. Just out there last week before the torrential rains came and was able to observe what was going on. It's a fascinating project and process as to what goes on. They actually lay the green with the horizontal stripes, if you will, and then they cut everything else in. So they're actually out there with an electronic, almost like a heads clipper. As you can see, the number 10, they cut out the 1 and the 0, and then they glue the numbers in. So the update that I got from Mr. Brunetta this afternoon was that it's pretty much all numbered up and lined up and looking good and all ready for the fill. So right now the turf's laying flat. Once they put in the levels of fill, which would be a black granular substance, on top of that would be the cool play, which is the green substance, the turf will stand up and be ready for action. So again, just watching all that happen is absolutely amazing. And in terms of the track, we're waiting for the stripes and the lining to come for the track. So that should happen hopefully by the end of the week, next week, and the stadium will be back and ready for action. Okay, let's see if this works. Here's our video for the week and maybe not. Right, I don't know how that happens. See, but what do I do? You did? Here? Here.
Left, yeah.
Okay. See, that's why he's called assistant, because he has my back all the time. Thank you. I don't know about the sound.
From the lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from the sea to shining sea, from Detroit down to Houston, and New York to LA. There's joy in every American heart, and it's time to stand and say. And proud to be an American, at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave their lives for me. And I'll gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA.
Again, another great job from our TV studio. So thank you for capturing all that's going on. And as you can see, there's a lot of virtual work. Our students are having fun, being innovative, and being able to express their passions and talents. Okay, moving on, the budgeting 2021-22. So I have to get the board, get their heads, their brains wrapped around in the midst of all what's going on. It's that time again. All right, so the budget calendar has been shared. It's time to start thinking ahead to next year and what our needs are, and what that's going to look like. And I take a real deep breath because it's going to be a little bit more difficult in the COVID-19 pandemic situation that we're in. We're just full of unknowns each and every day. All right, and we cannot predict the future. However, let's wrap our heads around. This time last year, we had presentations. We began our presentations by the content area supervisors as they presented to you the 3 to 5 year plan that they've developed for me and shared with me as they have a vision into the future, and it helps us budget. So it might be like, here's something I need this year, but next year I may need this. Or even when we get to the table with the red pen, we talk about immediate needs and could X, Y, Z be saved for something for next year. So adjustments had to be made in regard to their plans, particularly in regards to what they received in the budget. Changes had to be made because of the most recent school closure from March to June, and some of the wind was taken out of their sails in terms of the forward motions that they had in place. So they've taken the last couple months to look at what they accomplished, what they did not accomplish, what may roll into a revised plan. But without any further ado, we're going to start the presentations now. So this evening we have Mrs. Eileen Hannigan, who's the Supervisor of Social Studies, Ms. Lily Moss, Supervisor of English Language Arts, and Dr. Carmelita Graham, Supervisor of Career and Tech Ed, who are going to share with you about a 5-minute presentation on their plan and what it's going to look like in terms of some of the needs as we roll into the next budget. As you did last year, take your notes, because when we get into budget season, which is February, March, when we present the final budget, you look back to November, you might say, oh geez, what was that in ELA? So you're going to hear some of that tonight, okay? So I am going to introduce Eileen Hannigan, who is going to present to you social studies at this time. She up here? I think I'll move.
Let me just close this out. My goodness, we have a lot open. All right. Safety first, safety first.
Hi, good evening. I'm Eileen Hannigan, Supervisor of Social Studies for the school district. This is a picture of a lot of the teachers from the high school. Many of us participate in graduation every year. This picture's from 2019. We couldn't participate this past year. But we have a large turnout because a lot of people on our staff actually work graduation. Our content area goals are to help shape participating citizens, to teach students to analyze all sides of a topic, to teach research skills, reading and writing, inquiry-based learning. And we don't just teach history, we teach civics, economics, politics, psychology, and law. I've worked for the district for 19 years. I was a social studies teacher at the high school for 7 years, and the balance I have been the department supervisor. The first years I was here, we had a curriculum rewrite. And at that time, the board approved a $250,000 purchase of textbooks to coordinate with new curriculum from grades 6 to 8. I believe this was about 2012. This year, I'm asking for a significant amount of money and time at the elementary grades for social studies. We will need dedicated time in the schedule and a program for the teachers. The new 2020 New Jersey Learning Standards for Social Studies are out. The implementation date is the 2022 school year. It's a change in grade bands and a big change in rigor, especially for the elementary grades. Standards are written with a core idea and a performance expectations. And I gave you 2 examples for 2nd grade. With adult guidance and support, bring awareness of a local issue to school and community members and make recommendations for a change. Also use evidence to describe how democratic principles such as equality, fairness, respect for legitimate authority and rules have impacted individuals and communities. This is 2nd grade. Yeah. So after becoming more familiar with the elementary teachers, the reason I told you my background, that I taught at the high school, I feel very confident about our middle school, high school curriculum and program. I struggle with elementary, but I've learned from the teachers, with working with them, that it became clear that a comprehensive program is what they need to support them. The program I'm proposing comes from a company called Social Studies School Services and Nystrom. The program is actually designed for grades K through 5, but I am asking for this program for K through 3. The total cost for each teacher to get the full program is about $179,000. The price also includes professional development for the teacher, and remember that price would be divided between 3 schools. The name of the program is called Young Citizens. Just wanted to show you the book. This addresses the New Jersey Student Learning Standards for Social Study, and it is literacy-based, which helps meet one of our literacy goals here for the district. About the program, it's hands-on, inquiry-based, literacy-focused, and cross-curricular. It has an online component, so if we find ourselves having to be online again, they do have that component. I just wanted to highlight that it prepares students to be active members of their community, and it provides ample opportunities for teachers to develop higher-level thinking in their students. What would each teacher receive? Each teacher would receive a teacher's guide. I have to say the teacher's guide is very extensive and provides pacing ideas for them also. It has another book for handouts, some handouts for the students. It would give each teacher 30 student books, 30 markable community maps, world map, United States map that they can write on and erase. 66 group activity cards, 10 variations of activities, and labeled readers for them to use at their stations. 6 markable activity globes, which I didn't bring in. But they have globes also, and there is a digital platform, and they also provide some of the wet erase markers. This is what the program is about. As you can see, it embraces diversity right away. They have students of every ethnicity and even a student in a wheelchair. I just wanted to play for you. It's a very, very short video about the program.
Keeping kids engaged isn't easy. Since every student has different strengths and weaknesses, it's almost impossible to reach all of them with a traditional textbook. With so little time for social studies between ELA and math, areas like history and civics, and participating in a democracy often get forgotten. Nystrom Young Citizens helps kids get deeply engaged with learning through hands-on activities and multidisciplinary lessons that incorporate a narrative hosted by relatable characters. Our leveled nonfiction readers expand on topics from each chapter, providing the same content at 3 reading levels, so every student can develop literacy and understand the content. With literacy as an important aspect, more time can be spent on social studies because vocabulary and learning reading comprehension strategies are part of the program. Busy teachers can navigate our highly organized lessons without spending too much precious time on prep. The multidisciplinary approach makes it easy to differentiate and help students use their varied strengths and weaknesses so that every student can succeed.
Steve, which one's iPad? Steve, which one? Steve. The left. Okay. Oh. Thank you. Thank you. He's my assistant, too. Why am I comfortable in asking for this money? Very little money has been set for social studies at the elementary level for a great number of years. At the high school and middle school, our social studies budget could be between $2,000 and $4,000 a year, and I've always made it work. I've not asked for a significant amount of money in many years, at least 8. This is a program that embraces our community's diversity, engages students in a high-level curriculum, and educates them with a literacy-based social studies program that is easy for the teachers to use. I've been also researching ways for the upper grades with these new standards that are coming, and I want you to know that most of our textbook and social studies copyright years are 2001 to 2005, which are over 15 years old. We still use them and supplement all the time with online programs. We piloted a free program for grade 9 called World History Project. We're looking to incorporate that more when we do rewrite the new curriculum. And also, we're looking at reading like a historian for grades 10 and 11. Instead of textbooks, we really advocate for technology for the middle and high school. I don't really anticipate having to ask for any textbooks, even though we have rather old textbooks. Grades 4 and 5 at Miller School, grade 5 has textbooks. Grade 4 right now has Nicky 5th. I'm not really looking for any major purchase in those grade levels either. Lastly, I just want to say, our goal is to educate our citizenry. It's very important. The devotion of a democracy is a familiar fact. A government resting upon popular suffrage cannot be successful unless those who elect their governors are educated. And that's it. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Hannigan. And next up is Ms. Lily Moss, Supervisor of ELA.
All right. I'm Lily Boss, and I'm the supervisor of ELA for the district. Last year, I shared the vision that we adapted over the past few years in making more of an alignment between our programs in K-12. When I came into this role 7 years ago, we had a lot of different things going on. We did not have a lot of consistency between buildings and especially between grade levels. And even within our own buildings within the high school, we didn't have that alignment. So it became really important for me to make sure that we weren't just aligning curriculum and we weren't just aligning resources, but that we were aligning how we were approaching literature and the process of reading and writing, and continuing to look at the process of reading and writing as students moved through the grade levels, so that we were constantly teaching the learner and not just the content. This is what responsive teaching is, and the idea of building those capacities and competencies so that we are building on the strengths of our students, building on the strengths of ourselves, and being able to respond to reading and writing behaviors to help kids continue to grow all the way through graduation. So our focus is on to implement research-based best practice, to look at students where they are and use the workshop framework to teach them autonomy and independence and help them work towards growth and mastery of standards. Our ultimate goal, along with what Ms. Hannigan was saying, is to create citizens who are critical thinkers and ready for the 21st century. So in 2016, I stood up here with a 5-year plan, begging for a lot of money and a lot of patience with professional development and committing to that ongoing professional development for our teachers. Last year, I extended those goals and plan because we had to slow it down a little bit. We had to spend more time on making sure our teachers had the supports that they need to meet all of the needs of our learners, to make sure we had the resources that promoted equity, to make sure that we weren't rushed in that process. So the goals remain basically the same, but the idea is that we are creating students who will continue to grow and learn, that we're able to use responsive instruction, and that most importantly, we're creating and fostering a love of reading as a school and as a community. So the extension of the plan, because we slowed it down, was this year. Last year we introduced writing workshop. The idea this year was really to dig into those units of study. And like all good plans, they got laughed at a little bit. As you can imagine, in a pandemic where we're trying to not only navigate how to teach reading virtually, writing is a big challenge. So we are slowing it down again, because as Dr. Gruccio said, it's important that we're slowing down and meeting students where they are and looking at where we need to go. So the priority for the first part of this year was getting everyone used to this hybrid model, helping with those routines and structures. Let's figure out how to get reading under control. And now we're going to start delving into that in the new year. Once again, how do we approach writing and hopefully get back on track? I've been meeting with the teachers. I met with K and 1 yesterday, 2 and 3 next week. We've been communicating a lot about what's working, what's not working, so that we can support through that sustained and ongoing professional development to ensure that we can continue along this work with writing workshop and the phonics word study. Same in the middle school. Again, we were diving into this writing workshop idea, looking at units of study, connecting writing to reading, also slowing that down a little bit, but making sure that we're implementing a multi-text approach in reading so that students are engaging with text with a teacher and independently. At the high school, we did revise the curriculum, I think it was 2 years ago at this point, so that they're more aligned with one another. And the idea was to now, with them, they wanted to develop those comprehensive writing units as well. And like I said, we're going to slow that down and start that in the new year. Last year, my proposal was to finally be aligned as a district all the way K through 12. to have responsive literacy instruction as our foundation, which again is founded in processes and allows us to focus on strategic actions and allowing teachers to make decisions based on rationales of what's best for the students in their classrooms. So this document, which I shared last year, goes through that alignment that we now finally have, K all the way through 12th grade. So thank you for your continued support. Last year we did purchase all of our reading workshop materials. Again, we made that decision and then the pandemic hit. So we are navigating through them. We are collaborating on the practices that are working. We are working to ensure, but those materials are providing us with equity and accessibility. So in those read-alouds that the teachers received, we have representation from lots of cultures. There's lots of diversity within there. There's social studies and science integration within them so that students are able to have that multi-text approach. Last year, I presented how much money we would be saving this year, which is, we spent a large sum last year, and we're going to be, I'm not asking, for less than $100,000 less this year. We're not buying any new major materials. It's just the supplements and replacement materials for teachers and students. So looking to the future, we're going to continue with our sustained professional development. And what are the safe applications of the workshop model? This is where we are right now, trying to navigate that and figure out how we can continue to use what we know to be research-based best practice and instruction, but in a way that's safe for our students. How we can integrate the use of the online tools in a way that's keeping with engagement and keeping with those best practices. And then, like I said, diving back into writing workshop and using those assessments to guide instruction through responsive teaching. And that's it. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Moss. Next up, our final presentation for this evening from our supervisors is Supervisor of Career and Tech Education, Dr. Carmelita Graham.
Hello, everyone. Brought my water up because these masks, this particular one is meant to be pretty, not functional. So hopefully I won't have a choking spell. And so I just want to talk to you a little about the Career and Technical Education Department, which I supervise. Always looking towards the district goals, which is improving literacy for all, and a particular approach in my area is STREAM education. Our connection with making sure that our curriculum and things that we do respect our ethnicity and diversity within the district, That's a big part of CTE and the Perkins program, which I oversee, is the diversity in all of our areas and making sure our programs are accessible to all. And expanding our community partnerships is also a big part of our programming because everything that we do connects with our community and trying to make our career programs more aligned with what industry is looking for when our students leave us and pursue fields in those areas. So the previous 3-year plan, just reflected on it, I looked at last year, I'm like, oh boy, we're at the 3 years. I thought I had a couple more to go, but boy, time flies. So in those 3 years, we, as a department, we had to renew 5 of our 7 CTE programs that exist within the high school. So that's going through each of our programs and getting it pretty much recertified to be accessible or acceptable as a Perkins approved program for funding. So within the 3 years, we had to do 5 programs. So that was big for us to get those reapproved. We took an approach to focus on literacy within our CTE programs, and last year, before the shutdown, we were in the process of updating our K-5 technology curriculum with a stream focus, but also kind of aligning our 3 elementary schools, which we had been a little bit different for a while. So just making sure that students that were at Slayball, whether it's Slayball, Swift, or Davenport, and even Miller, we had a curriculum map that outlined some of the things that they would be doing, so it looked the same any school that your students attended. Our business and college partnerships are also really critical for us. Again, it helps us to keep in alignment with what the expectations are for the students if they move forward to the college setting or the career setting. So our program advisory committees that we have for each of our approved career programs, and then different partnership activities that we do with the college. The one picture here, we were able 2 years ago to implement an aviation program in the summer just to introduce middle school students to that particular career pathway. We were still able to, fortunately, I wasn't sure what the response would be, given that I thought students might be a little over it of being online, but we had upwards of 20 plus kids participate in an online virtual program for aviation this summer, where we were still able to introduce them to the field and talk a little bit more about it, and hopefully get some of those students interested in pursuing courses at the high school level in the future. We were able to expand our dual credit offerings. We have 2 courses that were currently in the A-Lab, Academy of Law and Business program, that had dual credit. We have now reached to 5, so we have our entrepreneurship, marketing, and accounting that are also dual credit. So our students can leave that program potentially with 15 credits with the college. So that was big for us as well. All right, so this just shows some of the partnership activities, including our entrepreneurship fair. Last year, the Fernwood Middle School actually had a self-esteem night for female students, so we are looking to partner with some of those teachers who kind of, created this themselves, and I'm able this year with Perkins funded to support some of their programs. So we've talked and collaborated about including both of our middle schools and doing it in a virtual setting. So again, Self-Esteem Night was to promote STREAM programming to female students, and they also had one that was more aviation focused. So we will continue to try to do some of those events, even in a virtual setting for the students. All right, so the year 1 plan, what I'm proposing is continuing to look at dual credit offerings. This year we were able to run a level 3 engineering and CAD class, the first time in many, many years. We've always had it on the books, but now it's nice to see it active and alive and running. And we're really looking to do some project-based type of things in there. Our idea was the students building a model vehicle, and eventually get into a competition type of thing with that. We've been in talks with the engineering department over at Stockton University. The professor now sits on our advisory committee, and we are looking to, do a dual credit with that course with Stockton. So that's in the works. We want to continue to expand our STREAM education opportunities for students. So some of those STREAM events that I talked about, giving the students exposure to some of the opportunities that they could potentially be classes for them, even at the younger level. Miller, before we closed last year, was able to get 4th and 5th graders who were interested in learning more about aviation to come in and do a little bit. Unfortunately, they didn't get as many courses through their aviation membership programs that were purchased. As for some of our teachers, they were able to get some access to curriculum and resources through that membership. We started it, but hopefully we'll be able to do some of that in a virtual environment in the future. Our middle school financial literacy, as I think many of you know, that was adopted. Every middle school had to incorporate financial literacy. The picture at the top, it seems so long ago, but that was Parent Night last year. And Parent Night, we actually had a financial literacy course for the parents, just to show them some of the things that their middle school students were learning about. So we've been creative. As you know, our instructional time is really limited, so we've been going through like our computer science principles course, trying to do a lesson or two or three, piggybacking on social studies lessons and math lessons that connect with financial literacy, and having our tech integration teachers work with those teachers to kind of, you know, work alongside of them and do those lessons. So we are, you know, doing our best to make sure that we are covering that, those state standards as well. Our other goal right now is to adopt like professional certifications for students. The picture on the right is Mr. Wallerman, he was a senior last year, EHT grad that achieved his ASC certification, which is your automotive service certification. So he was one of the first students in the district to pass every section of the automotive service test. So he could walk out of here, go to Team Nissan, anywhere, and pretty much have, you know, credentials to allow him to work in that. So we're continuing to try to build in those type of certifications, professional certifications in all of our programs. This year we're looking to do it for Photoshop, ServSafe, which is a culinary one that a lot of our students want to begin to work in the field of culinary. You know, we have a lot of this market is big for, you know, summer jobs and opportunities like that in the culinary field. They would have that certification, and others, SolidWorks for CAD and others in that sense. Professional development opportunities. This past year we went through our annual Perkins application process, and this year it was a little bit different. We had to do basically a needs assessment as a district, as a county. So we pulled together with all the schools in the county and Atlantic Cape, our partner college. And one of the things that came out of that was having a county-wide professional development for our teachers. So a lot of that doesn't equate to a cost because fortunately we both received Perkins grant funding, so the college was able to build that into their course. And one of their partnership opportunities, which you'll hear about at a later curriculum meeting, is they wrote in to offer us ACIT 40, which is a drone technology course, which they offer to our EHT students who are juniors and seniors, and potentially some 10th sophomores for free. So that would be in the spring. So that would be a course that they could earn college level credit for, offered for free for our students. So we are partnering and working together for PD as well as opportunities for our students. All right, and just some more pictures. This was the STEM event at Fernwood last year, where they featured pilots, a lot of the aviation field, Civil Air Patrol with some of their flight simulators. Some of those things that we've built into our curriculum and that we're asking to get more of, even in the 8th grade level, for the students to be able to just get introduced to it. So as they're choosing and planning their pathways for high school programming, they may elect to continue to study that further. All right, so year 2, this is the trajectory we're looking to do, is adopt the Aircraft Owners and Pilots Association. So this would be for next school year. I actually had a meeting with a pilot from Delta who works with this organization to just educate school districts about their curriculum. It's a free curriculum, fortunately. It wouldn't cost us a thing, already written. Everything is there. They just have the district's guarantee that they're offering a dedicated course. It's not something that can just be supplemented into a current course. So that brings up the question with my budgeting, with my asking for another personnel. I was on my budget last year. Unfortunately, it didn't go through, but I'm asking again because we have a lot of great programming and wanting to build the aviation piece into it, but we're just tied because our current course load for our staff just doesn't allow for a lot more development in this area to really get into the aviation and engineering. So we had that meeting, that curriculum is available, and my goal is to not just have it for like an academy setting, but I would love to offer the course outside like an academy setting to get more students involved. The pilot from Delta actually shared, you know, when he was in high school, his high school actually offered a course like that, and that's how it turned a light bulb on for him and his sister, and now they're both pilots. So that's a success story that I think a lot of our students would, you know, if they just heard about it and learned more, not to mention the shortage that they keep talking about is coming in this area. Most of our pilots, our aviation maintenance mechanics are approaching, you know, their retirement ages, and they just don't have their placement. So it's a job that, as the State Office of Career Readiness, would associate it with high skill, high wage, and in demand. So we really need to get our students trained and, you know, in this area. So if they decide that this is a career pathway they would take, they have the opportunity. And then adding to our robotics and engineering, I received a very nice email from a parent from one of our middle schools last year, really excited about their robotics club and what they had been able to accomplish in a couple years. Just seeing the excitement from their child and how they come home like really excited about participating and competing, and wanted to know, what do we have to offer at the high school? So he challenged me to say, okay, now you gotta move it up. You can't just stop there. So we are actively looking at how we can get involved in engineering or robotics competition at the high school level. There are several different programs. We just have to find the one that's the best fit for some of the courses that we have already. All right, and finally, year 3, the plan is to develop that third-year aviation course to continue to add on. The AOPA actually offers 4 years of the course, and then also partner with Atlantic Cape. We've been in talks with them about having some of the what they call concurrent courses, having their professors teach our students when they get to that 3rd and 4th year as juniors and seniors. So we will continue to partner with them to provide our students the best course experience. And then we're also looking to cybersecurity. That's another one. I don't know if you guys have heard, but that's another field that's really big and in demand, and we have students interested. But we have not been able to offer that coursework because we just don't have the staff to be able to do it. But it's a very in-demand field. VR, AR, game development. We have piloted as a district the esports. That's a big one. So the students have interest. I saw a room filled with Mr. Gardner last school year of students just interested in that field, but there are plenty of career pathways from that. Developers, apps, gamers, the designers, a lot of money involved in it, and another career pathway for our students. So we want to be able to offer them some of that coursework that matches their interests, but also matches the jobs that are available for them when they leave us. And of course, continue to expand our apprenticeship opportunities. I think I missed this on a previous slide, but we are actively, I've worked with Ellen Gregory, who's been doing a lot of the legwork with the Department of Labor, setting up some conversations, because we've been trying for a couple years to get our students, you know, in some of our career programs, some apprenticeship opportunities. So it's just finding the local unions and those type of trade jobs that will allow our students to work under them to get more field experience. So we are hoping to do that in the process as well. Okay, and this is just some of our programs in action, our robotics clubs. We also currently have coding club at the high school level. They do many different things, participate in competitions on their own, provide training for our high school students that are not involved in coding at all. They've done a lot. And then we have the STREAM club that at the middle school level will participate in STEAM Tank. Professional development is always big for us. That AOPA, while their curriculum is free, they do require training for our staff. So any staff teaching would have to do training. So professional development would be a part of our budgeting costs. So they have to get, typically it's out of state. Not sure with the current climate we're in, how that will take place, but travel would be involved just to get them training. And then of course some of the tools that we're trying to use in our programs, engineering, just training on the different machinery and equipment to keep our staff up to date. and our engineering design. I always like to show this slide because when you look at the high school, we have roughly 2,400 students. Half of them participate in some type of career and technical education program. So we impact many students in this field, and we're not a technical school, you know, so we're a comprehensive high school that offers many great opportunities for our students to explore career fields. This year we had approximately $58,720 in Perkins funding to supplement our general supply budget for the department, so we're fortunate in that sense. We also received the CTE Bridge Grant, which was $17,500, typically designed to get a teacher trained to become a certified CTE teacher. That may have another discipline like science or something like that. The state allowed us to, they heard about some of the things we were doing in aviation and allowed us to get our teachers more training in the field of aviation. So we were fortunate to be able to do that and get 2 of our teachers really trained. One even walked away with his unmanned aerial system certification. So it was a really good experience for them under a mentorship opportunity as well. All right, so again, our computer science growth over the last 4 years continuing to grow. So the demand is there, but again, I addressed it before, our staffing is limited. We just don't have the manpower to continue to build upon the courses we already have and meet the needs of our students. Our academy continues to grow. We're fortunate, 2nd year in a row. We have a really good, approximately 23 this year, I believe, class, so we're proud of our growth there as well. And future goals, I mentioned before, continue to expand our computer science offering, thinking about middle school academies. I don't know, I'm throwing it out there. Level 2 choice courses, we offer choice courses now. We have students, we had a student group that put out a proposal last year. They wanted coding too. They had coding as a choice. They're like, we need a 2nd level. So it was very, very creative. The kids put their own proposal together, and we're running coding too this year. You know, we're meeting the demands, the needs of our students. So just always continue to think about how we can build upon what we have and make sure we're matching their needs. Adding more professional certifications, apprenticeship opportunities, as I mentioned, and esports, VR, AR, all that good stuff. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Graham. Thank you to Ms. Moss and Ms. Hannigan. As you can see, board members, the passion and the work that these supervisors do each and every day for their teachers and for our students to look at their content area and do research and be innovative, think and look ahead. Speaking about thinking and looking ahead, I sit here as, I guess, the proud mama, because 4 years ago when I took the superintendent seat, I tasked the supervisors to develop 3 to 5 year plans. I instituted 3 student learning goals that I said were going to stay until we meet them. And here I am 4 years later, they're still here, but I'm so proud to see how they've taken root, if you will. So the big old oak tree starts with that little seed, and it has to take root. And that was my mission, to implement those goals and make them stay so we can learn about them and that we can grow and we can prosper. And I'm starting to see that happen now. It's common language, those 3 student learning goals. They're being wrapped around the way people think and the things that we do. So I'm very, very proud of that, and I thank you. I thank you for these 3 ladies stepped up to my email right away and said, we'll go on November 19th. So I appreciate that very much for you to step up and be first and share your goals. So you're good to go for a while, and I appreciate that. So Mr. Santilli, where's my presentation? Where's the rest of it? Okay. All right, so we have one more presentation this evening. If you ladies want to leave, that's okay.
Can I just, Dr.
Sure.
Zuccio, I want to see if board members have any questions for our content area. And I just want to just lead it off, and I want to thank all three for just an outstanding job. I just have to note, you know, we talk about how tight funding is, and Eileen, you did such an outstanding job setting a direction, but you have to take note of some things that you hear. The age of the textbooks in the upper grades. I mean, those are old books. That's a concern. That's a problem for me. So, just with that, so.
The video out?
Okay, board members.
Yeah, Mr. President, Mr. Price, I have a question for Ms. Hannigan. Maybe you could answer the question that I have. When you mentioned $179,000, $528.16, it would be a total cost for each teacher. How many teachers would that be?
That's every single teacher, K to 3, in every building. Would get 30 books, 30 maps, the teacher's guide, a floor map. It's an extensive program, but they would, each one of them, that would be for each and every teacher. K to 3.
Okay, you don't have a
But it's
count.
not 179,000 per teacher, that's your.
No, I'm sorry, that was the total.
Yeah, that was my question.
Oh, I apologize. I apologize. That was the total price for each teacher to receive that package.
Not each teacher, but all the teachers?
All the teachers together would come to that total.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Go ahead, Christie.
Thank you. I actually have questions too regarding the social studies curriculum. I am very impressed with what I saw, so thank you for showing that presentation. The leveled readers, can they be utilized in our Readers and Writers Workshop as well? So that would be an additional tool for our teachers with the literacies.
Yes.
Okay, that's awesome. And the 30 books and maps and all that stuff, will some of that be replaced yearly? Because those maps, if students are using them every day or whatever, they're going to get kind of shoddy. So are those considered consumables that will be replaced, or do they stay for every year?
They would stay for every year.
Okay.
And the books absolutely would stay every year.
Yeah.
So I don't see a major need to replace them. You know, I guess I would kind of have to see how it would go. I know it's not a time right now where we can kind of play with them, but, you know, the idea is to use the map. Maybe they don't even write on them. Maybe they just point to things or directions or things like that instead of writing on it. We could look into something like that.
Laminate and.
Right.
Okay, and then that's all I have, and I agree with what Mr. Castellano said. Those books are really old.
Yeah.
And
I mean, you always hear history doesn't change.
it changes.
But the truth is, history's moving on,
Right.
and I actually wish we had a U.S. History 3. I think it's getting to that time. You know, we need to spend more time on the 1980 era, I would say, and 70s a little bit more time than we do. That kind of is where we end all the time. The teachers will do something on 9/11 either in September or at the end of the year, but yeah, we actually make it work with the books. We're okay because we do get a lot of supplemental materials from online. But you know that
But
the
having
books are old.
a set curriculum would assist the teachers so that they wouldn't have to grasp for extras and come up with it kind of themselves, so.
For the
having-
elementary, yes,
Right.
absolutely. This program is all encompassing. They wouldn't need to look for anything. I have to tell you, and maybe when you have your curriculum committee, I could bring you everything and
That would be
go
great.
through it with you, because it is rather extensive, and I just think it's worth it because we don't make these purchases very often,
Right.
so I think this is a good program.
And is the 179,000 for the K through 3, or is
K
that what the
through
K
3.
through 5 was?
No, K through 3.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay.
Go ahead, Tamika.
I'm just going to say that, and I apologize for not passing the history, the book down so you could look at it. I'm sorry. I was kind of, it was a very, to get up close and open the book and look at the pictures, I think just based on just looking at it briefly, it definitely addressed diversity within our community. The students, you had students with different cultures, different backgrounds, different names. It wasn't, it was just, it represented a diverse community. That was one thing I thought that was great, and just the language that was used in the book, some of the things that I read, it was very age appropriate. It wasn't above their heads, average, kindergarten through third grade student, but it wasn't below. It was challenging, but it was age appropriate. And I guess my question would be more so would be, so the Amistad curriculum, is that K to 12?
Yeah.
And I was just figuring out, is that just a totally separate curriculum, or would you kind of tie it and wrap it into with your?
It's tied and wrapped into other curriculum, but that mandate is for, right now we have a lesson per grade level and a read aloud book that also goes along with what they're doing with the ELA.
Okay.
So we purchased those read aloud books for the teacher. They read aloud, and then there was activities that follow for the student.
Okay. I just think, I think Ms. Bird mentioned that the level of readers going along with having a literacy-based social studies program is amazing, because, yeah, you get a double dose of ELA within social studies and vice versa. So I think that's good. So I said from just a bird's eye view. That's good. Thank you.
Okay, guys? All right, Doc.
Okay, moving on with our final presentation. It's Ms. Chandra Naya, our business administrator, Mr. Ray Dorso, supervisor of special education, who's going to present to you the work that they've been doing to pursue the preschool grant. Now, let's be thankful and grateful for the work that was done a year ago in learning about the need for full-day kindergarten and how we were going to implement that. And guess what? We did. So thank you very much. Thank you, board, for staying with the course. All right? And when you stay with the course, because I know we had some questions along the way, particularly when we hit the pandemic. But the full-day kindergarten is the foundation and the basis for being able to go get this grant that has a lot of money that can come to our school, but more so opportunity for our students to have full-day preschool. And that's what's so important, to have that foundation as a learner at a young age, to be able to get all that you need to become a reader, to be successful in the elementary grades, to help us get our students on level so that they can progress in the future. So thank you, full day kindergarten, even though right now not everybody's totally full day, but the concept is here and the criteria is met when we go to reach this grant. So without further ado, Ms. Anaya and Mr. Dorso.
All right, so I know Ms. Anaya and I share in Dr. Gruccio's excitement to be able to present to the Board of Education and the public information about the preschool expansion grant. Let me figure out my clicker. All right, so we're just going to start off with a general timeline, just so you can kind of understand the intensity of the work ahead. Later in the presentation, we'll go through a more detailed step-by-step part of the process. But basically, we have to submit the application for the grant by November 30th. We'll find out if we receive the award by December 18th. And then if we do receive it, then we need to have a full-day preschool up and running on February 1st of this school year. All right, so just a current overview of our current preschool programming. We currently have 5 classrooms. Each classroom has an AM and a PM section. 2.5 hours during non-pandemic education. Right now, I think we're running at 2 hours and 15 minutes. 15 students per room maximum. We're currently not at that level, but the way the program is designed, we can have as many as 15 per room. We currently have 110 students in the program, and we currently utilize the creative curriculum. And we also, in addition to those preschool half-day programs, we have 7 full-day preschool disabled programs. The program is going to be a free full-day preschool program for district residents. It's important to keep in mind that the funding is exclusively for general education students. It's a 6-hour day. 1 hour of the day is noted or designated for a nap, and there's also a big emphasis on outdoor play. And I just want to share with you my little note, the picture that I have on the screen from the DOE. I just want to note that I have gone through this process before with securing the preschool grant. And preschool education, in my opinion, is one of the things that the state does the best in education. They're very detailed. They have it drilled down to a science. This is just a general overview of some components of the grant. We'll get into more particulars in a minute. We must use a state-approved curriculum. Our current curriculum is state-approved. The breakdown of the classroom is as follows: 15 students per class, ratio of 10 gen ed students and 5 special ed students. We'll also talk about a provider a little further in the presentation, but that breakdown will be, we anticipate 12 gen ed students and 3 students that are classified. There are requirements for space, and that's 750 square feet of open classroom space, basically 50 square feet per kid, and that does not include shelving or other things that aren't considered free space. Now we're going to start getting into the details about some specific state-mandated staffing requirements that will be new to Egg Harbor Township in our current programming. For every 20 classes that we have, we need to have a master teacher. In brief, the role of the master teacher is really to support all of our other teachers. Make sure that they have a good handle on the curriculum, make sure that we're meeting all the standards by the state. There's a very large emphasis on community involvement. So we're going to have a community parent involvement specialist. And then we also have a preschool intervention and referral specialist. Also 1 teacher per 20 classes. Another required component is the preschool intervention and referral services team, referred to as PERT. Obviously, it's comparable to the intervention and referral services team K through 12. And in this model, there's a very large emphasis on social emotional learning and the pyramid model. Two kind of evaluation parts of the program. One is for students, and similar to an RTI model, when students start the program, we have to evaluate every student, and we do that periodically through the school year to identify students that may be struggling early, so we can intervene early and aggressively. And then the ECHRS, the Early Childhood Environment Rating Scale, 3rd edition, is basically what's used to determine if we're meeting all the standards set by the state and other evaluating agencies. One of the main roles of the master teacher is to ensure that we are meeting those standards. Going back to my point before about the emphasis on parent involvement, one of the things that the Parent Community Liaison will do is to facilitate an ECAC, which is an Early Childhood Advisory Council. We'll have parents on that committee, community members, and district staff. During a full year, that committee has to meet 4 times a year. All right, now the fun part. The key word in the grant, obviously outside of preschool, is expansion. So the number of students that we have to, that the state expects us to have is based on our current first grade universe, times 2. And the reason that they do times 2 is because our preschool program is going to have 3-year-old and 4-year-old students. So you basically take that, and then I believe that the expectation, I have it on the next slide, is that you hit that target, at least 90% of that target within 5 years. So our goal for February 1st of 2021, this school year, is to have 14 in-district classrooms. That equates to 140 gen ed students. We would have 94 open seats there, and 70 special education students, and we would have 6 open seats there. We're also in the process of exploring partnerships with outside preschools, and we would have 6 classrooms at the partner school, which would have 72 open general ed seats and 18 open special education seats. Like I said before, the goal is to get to 90% of our universe in 5 years. That's basically a total of 810 students. This year, with the expansion, we would hit 300. That equates to 34 classes times 15. That's 510 students that would be remaining. Next school year, we're looking at targeting 10 additional classes with the partner site. And then the rest of the planning would be another 24 additional classes by the 24-25 school year. All right, this will be Miss Anaya's part.
So fund numbers. So as Mr. Dorso said, in-house, looking at 14 classes, and we're going to have to partner at some level with other preschools in the area, possibly looking for space. It's tough out there. We did do, I'm going to rewind a little bit, we did do some research at the beginning last year, trying to prepare for this, knowing it would be a quick turnaround. So we're taking all that information now and hitting fast forward and trying to get some answers from the community on how this is going to roll out. The basis of this grant is not a profitable grant. It's not a grant that you make money. Everything you get, you have to prove receive and how you disperse it. It's not a revenue generating grant, but it is to offset the cost. And the state has a formula for Atlantic County that says if you have a student in district, it should cost you, or you shouldn't spend more than the $13,022. If you partner with another entity, it shouldn't cost you more than $14,636. So the potential of the growth Mr. Dorso explained is for the district to incur new funding of about $2.9 million of new monies. But again, it's not to offset tax levy, it's not to offset anything else except this preschool program. As Mr. Dorso said, we currently have 5 classrooms set up right now, part-time. That budget's a little over $800,000 in our current general budget. This is a mid-year implementation, so we'll be taking the prorated share of the staff that was budgeted and all that, and having to move that into Fund 20, which is a different bucket for the special education children. Now, slow down just a little bit to say the grant the state gives us is only for general ed, but as Mr. Dorso explained, it is an inclusion program. There are special ed students involved, and you have to support that locally. And you support that locally by your general fund combined with the state fund. That's what that little slide is for. Just to go over where we were and the next steps to come. As we said last fall, we started with the surveys. We had meetings with the partnerships. We had information gathering from Department of Education, several phone calls and meetings with them. We here in the boardroom talked about preschool and had some meetings here about it. The notice of grant opportunity came October 23rd. And they said, congratulations, the governor did give $10 million towards preschool expansion. Egg Harbor Township, we've been begging you to do it for years. You now have full-day kindergarten, right? Go ahead and apply. So they gave us the opportunity and gave us the information on October 23rd. And they said 5 weeks. You have 5 weeks to turn this around with a huge document of operational plan, including scheduling, professional development, every staff list, everything. We're presenting to the board tonight where we are to date. Because we have more meetings now, we may give updates along the way, but we definitely will need a resolution for the board to go ahead and officially submit this to the Department of Education, which is coming on, looks like the 1st. As soon as the board passed that resolution, they encourage us to go ahead and advertise, market it for the students, get the staff lined up, because it's going to take time to onboard, train, and get them rolling for February 1st. So there's some timelines for some interviews. Notice of the award will come on a Friday, and I will be sending an email out to the board letting everybody know. We would like to request, Mr. President, a special meeting on the 22nd if possible, because once we get the notice of award, in order to start the onboarding, it looks like we'll be meeting every Tuesday from now till Christmas, literally. If that can happen. If it can't happen, we'd have to wait for the new year, a reorganization, and hopefully onboarding within 2 weeks, which with fingerprinting and things is going to be questionable, so that's our request. We'll come back to that. December and January, that's when we place our orders, get everything lined up, do all the onboarding, professional development. February 1st is a Monday, which is fun. We actually get to start a new program on a Monday, 1st of the month, so we're excited. We're very excited about this, in case you haven't noticed that. We are #EHT ready, but we have questions, I'm sure.
No, first, I want to thank Chandra and Ray. When I say they work 24/7 on this, they work 24/7, days on, days off, trying to get this together, weekends, nights, you name it. And as you can see, it's a quick timeline. We waited for months and months, and thank goodness, the governor released the information for us to jump on, and we have to move fast. We sometimes say we need to take our time when we implement things, but this is a chance in a lifetime here. You did that groundwork of approving the full-day kindergarten, despite some folks who tried to talk some of us out of it. I sit here proud to say that I have confidence in the work that these folks did, and I have confidence and I have a positive outlook that this preschool is going to come our way, and we're going to be full. When I say pre-K to 12 school district, and a little bit beyond, we do that as well. And very, very proud of the work that's been done and that will be done for our students. Okay, so thank you again. I cannot thank you enough. So that's our superintendent's report this week, and I know you have some questions here, so I'll turn it over to you, Mr. Castellano.
Well, thank you very much for that presentation. And before we go to questions, I'll just thank our administration for following through, and for board members for being persistent, being consistent, and implementing full-day kindergarten, which allowed this to happen. I truly believe that the single most important single thing we can do to improve student achievement in our district is comprehensive early child education, and that's full-day kindergarten, and that's preschool as well. And we've gone forward and we've done that. And we've done the right thing. Even during difficult times, the right thing is the right thing. So with that, I'll go for questions. I saw Mrs. Sullivan first.
First of all, do I understand this is it's going to be full day, and it's going to be no cost to parents? That should be really thrilling.
Full day and free.
Right, so that should be a great news for the people of EHT. I'm really excited about that. 2 questions I have, though. Our classrooms now, do they have 750 square feet of area for the students? I mean, are our classrooms pretty much? Our current
I'm not 100% sure.
Okay.
I would anticipate just by me eyeballing them and being in the rooms, but I haven't coordinated with our maintenance staff to actually measure them.
Make sure, okay. I did have another one, but I don't remember. But I'm really excited about this for all of EHT. It's really exciting.
Mrs. Bird?
Thank you. I have 2 questions. If we're going to be running creative curriculum with the new preschool classrooms, how do we implement that if we go virtual? And my second question is for the master teacher. Do we have to have a full-time staff on for a master teacher, or can we collaborate with other districts and share services for that?
I'll let you take whichever you want, and I'll follow.
Okay. As far as the master teacher, considering the fact that we're going to probably open up with, including the partner school, 20 classes right on the nose, I would definitely say that we should have our own master teacher, our own full-time. There are provisions in the grant that you could partner with other districts potentially, but based on the size of our initial opening, we're looking at definitely actually what we may plan to do is have one full-time master teacher and then split one of the other roles, the community parent specialist role, and then also a full-time preschool intervention and referral services team specialist. And then the other question as far as the virtual creative curriculum, I think when we developed our reopening plan and determining to go full day with preschool is in part because that we know that that level learner has difficulty navigating the remote learning experience. I'm not too sure if creative curriculum has any kind of specific tools for full remote. I could look into that and get back to you.
What I will just add to that is, speaking with the state over several conversations with technical assistants, they do not want COVID, pandemic, hybrid, none of those words in this grant application. They want this to read as if we are 100% open and operating, understanding you already have a district plan, understanding you already have a hybrid approved by the Board of Ed. They don't want this application at all to talk about social distancing. They want it all to be as if we were normal, which is crazy to implement during a pandemic.
Right.
But,
I just have one
Yeah.
more follow-up, if that's okay. Thank you. So does the funding cover all the tools necessary for creative curriculum? The dramatic play area, the, building block centers, all of that, the nap, where the kids will be napping, what they'll be napping on. Does the grant cover all of those expenses, or are those additional expenses that we'll have to pull from other resources?
Yeah, basically, we Ms. Anaya and Dr. Gruccio and us as a district, we build in the budget as to what we feel we need. So we've already reached out to some vendors to totally, completely outfit a classroom. So from your blocks to all your creative play centers, to the creative curriculum for the new rooms, that's all part of covered in the grant. Sure.
I did remember my second question. Do you have a ballpark figure of what it's going to cost us for the special ed students? That cost is going to come from our regular budget, right?
So what they want you to transfer is the price per student through the grant. So we have a potential of almost $2.9 million. If we spend all of that, then it becomes that per student ratio. And if you have 10 special ed students, they want to see how you covered that cost, the per pupil ratio, to make sure you're covering, and you're not using this fund to supplement, to actually teach a special ed or support a special ed student.
The other thing, if I could just add on, kind of on that point, is that we do recognize the importance of intervening aggressively early. So in addition to the staff people that we highlighted as far as the master teacher, we're also planning to staff the program with, I think we spoke about 2 speech and language specialists, because we understand that the majority of the referrals that we get from preschool are related to speech concerns. So our plan is, if we have 2 general ed speech and language pathologists, we can intervene very early and aggressively and give them the service, and that will in turn limit the number of referrals we have down the road.
Which brings me to the slide we talked about for personnel, because I know the board's very sensitive to new hires. I want to just make one more comment. This says new to EHT. Mr. Dorso just talked about speech pathologists. We already have that. A supervisor for early childhood, that actually has to happen. It's not new. It's a supervisor for a curricular area. And new secretarial staff to track all these students and intakes and, all the things that have to be reported out. So there's some things that already exist position-wise. These were new things we've never heard of. So we wanted to just highlight that tonight. And upon updates, you're going to get we'll break down the budget of staffing, what that looks like, number of teachers, number of paras, all that, along with the positions we're proposing. So there's more. We just didn't want to throw up on you all tonight.
Tamika next.
I just wanted to say the presentation was great, and all the information that you had in there is on spot on. That 750 feet, that is not a made-up number. And I'm just saying that just because I have preschool in my building, and it is an undertaking, and we use creative curriculum. And I think the question that Marita asked about reference how much it would cost to outfit a classroom, because a preschool class, it just takes a lot, it's a lot of furniture, and it's a lot of manipulatives and a lot of materials. So I'm just, and I'm sure that'll be covered in the grant. But I guess my question was in reference to, you mentioned, Mrs. Bird, you mentioned virtual pre-K, and virtual pre-K is actually taking place now. School districts that have creative curriculum or they have a preschool program, they have a very specific outline of how much screen time they're supposed to have. They use a lot of manipulatives. The preschool, if we open and we get everything goes through and we have to do it underneath those circumstances, it can be done. It's a little bit more difficult, but you just have to be a little bit more creative. And I just want to say that I'm super excited because, as Mr. Castellano said, pushing for and really going forward with the full day kindergarten really made this possible. So I'm just thankful for the board and just keep every push forward for it. And early childhood education is of utmost importance. I know a lot of times people look at the high school as the flagship school and district, and every level is important. I'll say pre-K to 12. But the early childhood education is the foundation, is the springboard for everything that we do. So I'm just glad to see the investment and the passion for early childhood education.
Go ahead, Christine.
Thank you. I just wanted clarification on the speech pathologist piece. Would we be hiring new speech pathologists for it? Because I got confused when Chandra said.
The title of speech pathologist
Is not
exists,
new.
which
Got
is
it.
why it's not new to EHT, but I wanted to give the board a heads up. There is much more personnel
Right.
that are going to be new for this program. These are just new titles you're not familiar with, so we wanted to at least explain what they were, that's all.
And there would be two new staff people.
Right, okay, so we wouldn't be stretching our already stretched thin staff.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, are we ready to move forward? So that was a lot of information, I know. But good information.
Are you done?
So with
Was
that,
that it?
I am going to welcome our student representatives who've been patiently waiting and absorbing all of this information. And it's great to see you guys, and we hope you're well, and come on down.
Hi everyone, I hope that you're all doing well and gearing up for the holiday season. We've had a lot of fun things happening in the building regardless of the pandemic these past couple of weeks. First off, I'd want to start off by thanking the Lowe's and EHT for their generous donations of face masks. Regardless of the hard times, our community continues to show their generosity. Teacher observations have been occurring in the building these past couple of weeks. The teachers and staff continue to overcome adversity and continue defining what it means to be EHT strong. I continue to admire my teachers and peers for adjusting to the circumstances and making the best of the situation. The past week, a small ceremony was held for all the students that committed to colleges to play sports. We invited parents and coaches to watch their students sign. We're very proud of our sports and the achievement that these students have accomplished. Last week, Picture Day was held, and a Makeup Day will be announced very soon. Lastly, I just wanted to continue to thank the teachers, staff, and parents. Although the conditions aren't ideal, we all continue to adjust to our new normal and continue making the best of the situation. Thank you, and have a happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. So we are in the home stretch of our fall athletics. Many of our teams in the district have continued to do very well in spite of the pandemic. Many of our teams are preparing for the sectional playoffs, so we wish them the best of luck, and we look forward to the winter season ahead. This past Saturday, the high school announced our homecoming queen at the boys soccer game. We want to wish Mariah Stevens a big congratulations for winning homecoming queen, and we also want to congratulate all of the nominees because it is a really big deal, obviously, just to be nominated. Homecoming Queen was decided through the students who voted through Google, and they watched a short presentation by each of the nominees, just a little bit about themselves and why they think they ought to be picked. The Egg Harbor Township High School Drama Club production of Under Milkwood is underway. We're really excited to see. The play is usually phenomenal every year. The play will be filmed and distributed online, so we look forward to seeing that. And lastly, of course, we would like to send a special thank you to the Egg Harbor Township Police Department and the senior gym teachers, because recently, this past Monday, our senior students began a very special program called Not Even Once, or NEO. And it's a program that the senior students learn in gym to learn about the harmful effects of drugs. It's a really amazing program. I know Gabby and myself participated in it this week, and it was really incredible to hear some of the stories, some of the experiences, and what the police officers had to say. This program is very important as it allows us to learn about people's personal experiences with substance abuse and hopefully change some lives too. So that's really great. As Gabby said, we look forward to continue to working with you. We know there's a lot of rumors going around about school closures and whatnot, but we want to assure you that the student body remains very optimistic. We have our EHT pride, and we're ready for the journey ahead. So thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, student reps. We really appreciate that. It's just great to see you guys and hear what's, from a firsthand perspective, what's going on. So we thank you very much, and we wish you a great Thanksgiving as well. And you're welcome. It is late. You're welcome to stay with us, but if you guys want to get some homework done, we won't mind either. So your choice, of course, your call. At this point, we are going to open up for our first public comment on agenda items only. Anyone on agenda items? Okay.
Good evening. Mike Merlino, 5025 Fernwood Avenue, Egg Harbor Township. This question is for, I guess it would be Anaya. In the presentation, for preschool children, when you classify children as special education at that age, where's the classification coming from? Who does it at that age that you would already know going in that they're special education?
So, Mr. Castellano?
Yeah.
Do you want me to respond?
Go ahead, yes.
So, Mr. Merlino, what happens is there's a process under the law, and a student is usually typically identified through early intervention before the age of 3. The school district is notified of that. Once they're notified, the school district is obligated to meet with the parent to decide if testing needs to occur. Testing occurs through the school district professionals, and then based on that data, they determine if the student is eligible for special education and related services. In addition, at any time, a parent could come to the district and ask the district to also engage in testing as well to see if their child is eligible.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for your comments. And anyone else on agenda items? Okay, seeing none, we're going to move to finance and operations, and I'm just going to see very quickly, is there any comment from the chair or administration on finance and operations?
Not from me. Just a brief update as it relates to personnel. You'll see on the agenda later, the supervisor replacing Mr. Camp's retirement actually rescinded, he's not going to work for us. And Mr. Burnett's position is still open and re-advertised as interviews didn't go well last week. So we have 2 vacancies being re-advertised to close on the 29th, hopefully to have on the December agenda, but just so you guys know what's happening at the moment. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. So I'm now going to ask for a motion on 8.1 through 8.14.
Motion. Second.
Motion and second, is there any discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Mrs. Gilbert Floyd?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Mr. Price, yes.
Thank you. Mrs. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mrs. Solagi?
Yes.
Mrs. Byrd?
Yes.
And Mr. Castellano?
Yes. Okay, we have no, there's no curriculum this evening that I'm aware of. We're moving into personnel. I'll ask Dr. Charlton if there are any comments for open session.
I do not have any updates for tonight, Mr. Castellano. Thank you.
Okay. So with that, I'll ask for a motion for 9.1 through 9.7, please.
Mr. Price, I'll make that motion.
Second, Ms. Floyd.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, may I have a roll call?
Mrs. Gilbert Floyd?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes.
Mrs. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mrs. Solagi?
Yes.
Mrs. Byrd?
Yes.
And Mr. Castellano?
Yes. Okay, we're going to move into policy. Just so everyone knows, we did hear our committee reports at our work meeting, but I always give sort of a chance for a little follow-up. So I'll ask our chair or administration if there's anything else they'd like to mention on policy.
I don't have anything else to add. You, Dr. Huey?
I have nothing else to add, thank you.
Okay, great.
Okay, with that, so I'll ask for a motion on 10.1 through 10.9, please.
So many.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Mrs. Gilbert Floyd?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Mr. Price, yes.
Mrs. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mrs. Solagi?
Yes.
Mrs. Byrd?
Yes.
And Mr. Castellano?
Yes. Okay, we're moving into new business. There's a resolution we have, and many districts are taking up similar resolutions. And I'll ask Dr. Guruccio to join, sort of piggyback, but basically we're asking the state to take a look at some of the mandates that are in place right now during this extremely difficult time. The things that stick out in my mind right now are the SGOs, student growth objectives, that are mandated requirements from the state, which may not be wholly realistic right now, as well as some of the standardized testing requirements. And I'll ask Dr. Guruccio to just to expand on that just a bit.
Okay, just a bit. Just want to share with the public, where we've been starting back on March 9th. If you've been following us, a state of emergency went into effect. So this resolution highlights where we started and got to the place where we are now. So we went through governor's closure of school, executive orders of 107 and 175, the road back to school restart plan, the August 13 full remote learning options, and then opening of schools, or the not opening of schools in September. All this came to us with guidance that was unclear. While it was new, it was still unclear, and I made that clear in September that it was difficult to put plans in place when we didn't have that clear guidance. But here we are. We got through it. However, the Department of Education still says business as usual, and we all know we are not in business as usual. Okay, things are totally looking different in the classrooms. Teachers have to teach different. They have to make adjustments, and it's stressful. It's stressful for students. It's stressful for teachers. Therefore, I think it's important that the board passes this resolution that does speak to the compliance that we have to adhere to, the requirements of yearly mandates by the Department of Ed, such as New Jersey Student Learning Assessment, evaluation of district staff, summative evaluation scores, including those SGOs. And whereas, I'll just read the ending of it, the board notes that the annual ASSSA data collection may not be reliable for this school year, as many individuals who qualified for free and reduced lunch prior may not qualify due to pandemic relief, and probably didn't or may not have filled out the application forms. Whereas the board notes that many state and county departments are not working in person on a regular basis and are fully staffed, which impacts the board's ability to obtain timely responses on mandated matters and concerns, which we are experiencing now. We do not get timely response to questions that we have. So now, therefore, be it resolved that the Egg Harbor Township Board of Education implores the New Jersey Department of Education, the Acting Commissioner of New Jersey Department of Education, the New Jersey State Board of Education, the Governor of New Jersey, and our local elected officials to recognize the expectations required by the board during the public health emergency, including following Executive Order 175, the checklist for reopening schools, and the Road Back to School Restart and Recovery Plan for Education, as well as the clarifying expectations regarding full-time remote learning options for families in 2021. And please give critical considerations to relaxing the yearly mandates for 2021 school year, and be it further resolved that this Board of Education required to follow as well as comply with the yearly required mandates by the NJDOE, absent guidance to the contrary. And have it further be resolved that the board reiterate that the mandates above are simply a listing of some of the requirements required by the DOE, and that the board notes that the list is not inclusive but rather illustrates some key examples of required mandates, and be it further resolved that this resolution be delivered to the parties listed above to implore them to give critical consideration to relaxing yearly mandates for the 2020-2021 school year, and further be resolved that a copy of this resolution be sent to New Jersey School Boards. The end.
Very good. Thank you very much. And with that, I'm going to look for a resolution to pass resolution 11.1.
So made.
Second.
Is there any discussion? May I have roll call, please?
Mrs. Gilbert Floyd?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Mr. Price, yes?
Mrs. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mrs. Solagi?
Yes.
Mrs. Byrd?
Yes.
And Mr. Castellano?
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Board, for passing that. Under communications, basically what I want to talk about is our board calendar. So we may need a meeting early in December, and, you know, we'll find out about that, and Chandra will keep us up to date. We already have the date. I believe it's the first as well we may need, right? We have that blocked off for committees, but that may need to be full board. And then the 8th as the work session, the 15th as the regular meeting. But what we do need to discuss as a holdover from last meeting is what form of meeting we're going to have going forward in light of the new DCA regulations. So basically now, we can have an in-person meeting as we're having tonight. Tonight is a traditional in-person meeting under the statutes. We're recording, broadcasting, as well as live streaming. We can have a virtual meeting, which we had during the height of the lockdown, and we hope we won't have to see again, but we are allowed to have them. The virtual meeting is when everyone is elsewhere but here, and we all call in video in, and the public calls in with comment. The third thing that we are allowed to have, which we tried one meeting, our final meeting in October, is a hybrid model where we did in person, but we allowed both board members and public to comment remotely. That is, call in. that had some positives and some negatives. I know we had some technical issues. It was when we were here as opposed to having the virtual meeting. Well, but when we were here, we had a great deal of difficulty hearing the questions. And sometimes we were having to go back, and sometimes we were having to try to figure out what was being asked of us. So, you know, putting that all into perspective, there's advantages and disadvantages. You know, we want the greatest participation. So my recommendation would be that next week's meeting is an interview and is a special meeting. So we leave that as an in-person, but let's discuss what we want to do going forward in December. So I'm going to open that up for discussion and see what board members would prefer that we do. Go ahead, Marita.
Rather than start a big discussion, can we see, I would like to do in person. And can we maybe take a little poll so we don't have to go into all the big discussions again? See if there's anybody that does not want to do in person?
Well, Mr. President, Mr. Price, I want to do in person. However, if conditions change where we aren't able to do in person,
Right.
then I don't want to do in person. So we don't know at this point.
I think we're all good with that, obviously. Go ahead, Mrs. Bird.
I'm interested in doing a hybrid model because I feel like some board members might not be as comfortable coming in, and also some people in the public might not want to come in. So to avoid the technical difficulties that we are having, maybe we can advise the public if they call in and we can't hear them, then email your comment and we will make sure that we get back and we'll read it into record, you know, to overcome the technological issues.
Okay. All right. Thoughts? How is, what do you see, Chandra? Can we make this work?
I would just ask Mrs. Elko, I'm not sure on because of the requirements, if we can accept just emails, that makes my life so much easier. But I think we have to accept call-ins, the audio stream, and email.
If you're gonna do hybrid and allow board members to participate virtually, you have to allow the same opportunity for the public to participate virtually, and the same thing with call-ins. So if you're having any type of hybrid that's an electronic format, you also have to have a separate line for the public to call in and listen if they don't have the ability to listen via electronic format. In addition, you still have to have that separate line for them to call in with a queuing feature so that we can take those calls as well, in addition to the emails in advance of the meeting.
And that was the key, the emails in advance of the meeting. So if we have a technical difficulty on your end, on that note, if we have a technical difficulty the day of the meeting, would they be able to email, or would it have to be before?
No, the way the regulations are written is the email is prior to the meeting.
So, you know, we're going to have to just kind of do our best. You know, if there's difficulties hearing a call, you know, we're kind of stuck with that. But I guess I'm kind of seeing a consensus to try our hybrid again, you know, even though there are some issues, but I'm not sure.
That's not the consensus, is it?
Okay. All right, so then we'll do a straw poll. So we want to stay with an in-person. We all know that, unless we have to go to virtual. So then the question becomes, at our in-person, do we want to add the hybrid, which allows for remote participation? So that would be what we need to decide by sort of straw poll that we would want to do. Go ahead, Tamika.
Oh, I don't have a comment, this is when we do the straw vote.
Oh, okay, so I saw your hand up.
I'm sorry, I do, I'm in favor of, you know, we'll do in person, like I said, Mr. Price said about if anything changes and we can't anymore, then we don't come in person. But if we do, I do think we should have the hybrid, offer the hybrid. And it sounds like it's, you know, a lot of work and a lot of different parts that are moving to it, but
Okay,
we give adjustments.
Mrs. Solagi has something?
Well, I'm kind of concerned about our capability of having the hybrid. I mean, if we're gonna have it, we have to do it the right way. And if we don't have the facilities to do it, then we have a problem. So, I think we need to see how it goes with IT, I guess.
Yeah, we did have, I did have a meeting with IT after our last meeting because we were charged with finding out.
Right.
He's reaching out to other districts, other vendors, even our telephone vendor, because currently we don't have, the queuing system, which is required, meaning the people who call in get put on hold in the order they call in. He's also looking at different applications that maybe outside the phone that can go right into like a internet-based answering thing to kind of queue. As of today, we didn't have that settled yet, so we are still looking into it from the last meeting, but no solution as of yet. That was the biggest concern.
Okay, so we could certainly talk again, but, next week is a special meeting. So I'm gonna look for a poll from the board that we would give this a try, at least for our first December meeting, whether that turns out to be the 1st or the 8th. Let's give it another try, see how we do, and then
Give what, the hybrid or the virtual?
the hybrid. Let's give that a try for the first meeting in December. I'm looking for a poll on that.
Yes, I would agree with that.
And-
I think that's a reasonable suggestion.
Okay, so we'll look for hands on, looking for a poll.
So I see Mr. Price, Mrs. Byrd, Mr. Castellano, Mrs. Gilbert Floyd, and Mrs. Solagi. So it's 5.
Okay, so we're gonna give that a try, the first meeting of December, whichever that turns out to be, the 1 or the 8. And hopefully we can make it work. It certainly does enable and encourage participation, has its challenges, but we're gonna give it a try and see how that goes. Very good. At this point, we're gonna take comments on any subject. Come on down.
Welcome back is right. I'm here tonight to talk about and represent the staff of EHT, the people that are what I call down on the ground. It has been very difficult, and I don't want to portray a negative outlook, but the staff is stressed, overworked, and it is very difficult. A hybrid teaching situation is very difficult. I teach reading. To teach with my mask on is nearly impossible when I'm trying to express sounds to children. We do it. The children have been wonderful. There's no doubt about it. These kids have adjusted. They follow the rules. They keep their mask on. They're doing wonderful. They keep their distance. They wipe down if you ask them to wipe down. And I'm in elementary, so it's quite unique to see this. But the staff has a lot of questions that I get asked every day. Now, Dr. Gruccio answered some of those questions. I'm going to go out on the limb right now and say I don't agree with the health department and how they trace contacts. When you're working in a building and somebody's identified as having COVID and they're positive and you've worked with them, the question always lingers, was I with them for more than 15 minutes? I was in the workroom with them. We were standing right next to each other. We had our mask on, but we were right there. In my mind, that constitutes a quarantine, but not in the health department's mind, as you saw from the chart tonight. So that's what your staff struggles with every day. I am in contact with Dr. Charlton on a regular basis about following the protocol. I know the protocol. I try to explain the protocol to the staff, but it is difficult when you're in there working. So what I'm here to say tonight is that our district is up and running. The children are in the schools. Education is happening. And it's happening because you have one fantastic staff who keeps working even when they're overstressed. If we took a survey of emotional stress on teachers that have had to take a leave because of this, you'd be amazed. Or about teachers that are right on the brim of saying, I can't do this anymore. So I know the public is all for the children being in the schools. As an educator, I'm all for the children being in the schools. But when it's unsafe, and when it gets to the point that it's unsafe, then the people in charge have to make the right decisions to protect the staff and the students. I am going to stress tonight that we have to continue being transparent. I say that all the time. I've talked to Dr. Gruccio about it. It's so important to be transparent so the staff understands and doesn't feel things are being kept from them. I also believe that we have to keep up with the PPE and that the supplies have to be there for the staff. There should be no excuses about that. They should be there. I don't like to hear calls from teachers telling me, well, we don't have this or we don't have that. So I tell them to go through the chain of command to get the supplies they need. But when they're told they're not going to get them, I don't understand that. So I talked to Ms. Anaya tonight, and she's going to look into things. My members are worried. They look around, they hear things, and they are worried, but they're doing their job. I want to thank them because this district couldn't have survived March to June without your teaching staff at home and their Wi-Fi. We kept the district running during that time. The dedication of those teachers and the paraprofessionals working with the children at home. We have taught children how to learn via computers, and they're doing it. And I'm proud of what the staff has been able to do. Again, it isn't easy and it's very stressful. So in all your decisions, I want you to keep that in mind. I want you to keep in mind the safety of the staff, the safety of the students, and what is right. I also agree with the board tonight for voting for the hybrid because personally, I have heard so many people comment about the board meetings that never, ever watched board meetings before. But now they're tuning in on Tuesdays and they're listening. But they would like the voice to be able to call in. So last week, when that was no longer, it was upsetting that they couldn't get in and voice any comment that they might have wanted to tell the board. So I am pleased tonight that you have decided to at least try the hybrid. I don't think it's impossible to get it working in some kind of fashion so that people can voice their opinion to the board and share their concerns. So for Education Week, I want to thank all the teachers in the district. I want to thank all the support staff in the district, and I want to tell them that everybody is working very hard in their own corners all over this district. At times, it seems isolated, and it seems like we're not being heard. And for that, I say just keep the communication lines open and transparent. When questions are answered, let's take a breath and answer them. Give the answers that the staff is asking and requiring. That's all I ask. I thank the Board of Education tonight, and I congratulate the members returning to the board and Mr. Ireland, who is going to be the new member on the board. Happy Thanksgiving, guys.
Thank you. Thank you, Kathy, very much. I share in your sentiments, and I join you in thanking our teachers and our staff, our paras, everyone who's worked so hard. I just want to associate myself and agree with everything you said. I try to make it a point to thank all of them at every opportunity that I can, and I want to do so again tonight. And I hear the concerns that you've articulated, and so I want to just sort of ask us all, what more can we do for you? What more can we do for teachers and staff? Let's keep the two-way dialogue going. And so, perhaps maybe Dr. Gruccio would like to add on, or maybe, let's keep it going. We're with you. We're behind you.
That's a first. He said tells me to be quiet, but anyway, I'm not. as I reiterate to the staff each Monday, I write to them, especially this month, that it is the month of gratitude, and we are very thankful for all that they have done, hanging in there, persevering, making the adjustments that they need to make. And I also emphasize that my door is always open in terms of needs if anyone has. So again, my staff as well as HR, assistant superintendents and supervisors, principals and directors, we're all here to assist in any way that we can, and we're all here to appreciate, like I said, from custodians to bus drivers to paraprofessional teachers, administrators in the Board of Education. It's everybody's American Education Week, and this is our passion. We're all here because we care about education. We care about those who are involved in it. So again, thank you all.
Yeah, and I'm going to see if board members have thoughts, but, again, we're here for you, we hear you, and we appreciate you. There are things beyond our control. Some of the rules, obviously, whether it's state or county rules, are beyond our control to change, but whatever we can do for you, we want to. And so with that, I'll see board members. I saw Mrs. Gilbert Floyd.
I definitely, of course, thanking our teachers and our staff members for their hard work and dedication, but I just think that I feel like there's a couple words that I heard stated in the statement that was just given, and one word I kept hearing repeated was transparency. And the other word I heard that stuck out to me was another word was stress and PPE. So I guess my concern is just making sure, do we have enough PPE in the buildings? I'm just asking because I clearly heard her say that when someone may ask for PPE, that they may have been told that they're not getting it. So I'm just.
If I can just clarify.
Okay.
Because I heard the panic and then she said.
Yes.
We did just speak, and
Okay.
the conversation we had is basically we have a spray and wipe system.
Okay.
Versus a canister of wipes.
Mm-hmm.
So we have what we need. It's a matter of
Okay.
efficiencies and timeliness between classes. So that's what we're going to look into. We
So
have what we need. Now, as far as putting the
Okay.
work orders that follow in the chain, that may be something that I have to follow up on because I just heard, but what we just spoke about earlier was specifically more about efficiencies and how we're doing what we're doing.
So it's not that we don't have masks?
No, we just
or
got a supply from
Lowe's,
Atlantic County.
Atlantic County?
The
Okay.
Health and Human Services just donated two student masks per student. Staff masks, we ordered 3,000 to give two to each staff member.
Mm-hmm.
Somehow, unfortunately, Mrs. Lawson made an example, never got one. So the order actually just came today for additional staff masks, the black ones with the logo on the side. So we'll be distributing that by the end of the week. But we do have the need. It was a matter of trying to be more efficient.
The delivery
turnover in classes and things like that.
Okay.
And the delivery is a problem. Again, that's what I'm looking to see what the delay is, if any. But if the work orders are put in at the building level, we have plenty. We looked at the stock just last week, and we're in good shape for the next month or so.
Okay, that was just because I would make.
Christmas, I basically up through Christmas time. If we have enough of what we need after that, we have to reevaluate and then order more for the new year.
Because I just heard the concern.
I
I didn't know if I didn't know if it was, if we
We
have
are.
shields, masks, I didn't know exactly what the need is, and even it's just having the cleaning solutions available or wipes. I'm not sure, exactly what each classroom has, but and not that teachers should be taking on the role of, cleaning things, but I know in this type of environment, most teachers that I know are very, neat and they want the area a certain way, so they, so I just wanted to make sure that they have what they need, and it's just to maybe do an assessment to make sure that we really have exactly what they need specifically for in their classrooms.
No, I heard it. I heard it too. Mrs. Bird.
Microphone. Microphone.
Sorry, thank you, I'm so bad with that. Okay, so, I could hear the stress in your voice when you're speaking, and I think that, I know I feel it, and I think we feel it too, and, thank you to you and the staff for all that you do. It's not easy, and, no one asked for this, right? So, just an observation, we've been using wipes a lot here tonight. So we're asking our teachers to spray everything. And then for 25 kids? And then we have a turnover, so we're spraying. But tonight, we've all used wipes. So why are we using spray in a classroom? That's not efficient. It might be cheaper, but it doesn't seem like the easiest way to sanitize things quickly. So just an observation I made. You know, we all use wipes all night long. Why don't our teachers have wipes?
So there's, go ahead, you want to finish?
No, you can answer it.
There's two methods. So basically, initially, when we went into the whole return to school plan, middle school and high school having students exchanging, those staff members were given bottles. The staff members, so the bottle doesn't get cross-contaminated, is spraying. Students are wiping when they come in and when they go out. So whoever comes in and goes out is done twice within that exchange. For parents to feel confident that their kid coming in has the opportunity to wipe himself or herself too. Middle school and high school. Once we were back, elementaries felt, even though they had common area sharings, every teacher wanted something for their own safety, even though they have the same kids in their class. So they were given the spray and the wipe. The conversation we just had, as Mrs. Lawson, as an example, has exchanging students in her room. That would be more like a wipe because that's a quick, and they're kids. They're not going to be middle schoolers and high schoolers. So this is where the plan continuously gets tweaked because it's something that just came to our attention. But for the elementaries who stay in the class at all times, if the teacher wanted to go around and spray and wipe, they could. Mrs. Watson's in a little bit of a different situation with her students turning over. She will use wipes to make it quicker for her because she doesn't have a middle schooler or high schooler that she could just hand paper towels to and swipe away. So that's a full conversation of what just happened before this meeting. So it is different. It's not about every teacher spraying all the time, the whole room. It was really for middle school and high school as a focus, but then when all the elementaries requested it, we gave each and every teacher the spray and the paper towel for their own personal, they wanted it. And we made them feel comfortable by giving it to them. She's in a different situation. Teachers like that, we're going to have to just reevaluate.
Right, that makes sense. I just do know that being in a classroom, even if your kids are not turning over, there's so many germs. Like the struggle is real in an elementary classroom. So to have wipes versus spray and paper towels and blah, 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 I mean, they're picking their nose all day long. We're in a pandemic. So like, I just feel like wipes are easier for teachers and for students, but this is not my job up here to worry about that. So I don't want to micromanage, sorry. But anyway, oh, I had something else. I forgot, it'll come to me, sorry. Oh wait, I remember, sorry. Okay, so you mentioned like if we polled the staff, we would see that they're really struggling. So is that something as a Board of Education we can do to figure out like what we can do to assist them in a different way? Or not the board, maybe staff. And is there anything nice we could do for the staff that, like teachers love jeans. Could we have them wear jeans? Like, or something that is so easy, doesn't cost any money, or something that we could do just to say, like, we get it. We're trying to do one thing nice, something.
One of the things I've been asked over and over again is a relaxed dress code, where they could wear, we don't have them over, the whole district doesn't have a EHT shirt. Many teachers do, but they suggested the EHT shirt with the eagle and then khaki pants, or they were saying scrubs. Now I know that, when you hear the word scrubs, it's not very professional. But their thinking is that they can take that clothing off and they can throw it in the washing machine quickly every night, and it's not wear and tear on their good clothing that they would have to wash. So they would like I know that would be a very positive thing to have a relaxed dress code, so the teachers could feel that when they take this clothing off and they wash it, because everybody is still, I guess my point here tonight is that we still have to follow the protocols, and sometimes I think, I'm not directing this at anybody in the top administration, but I think sometimes maybe as it trickles down, you lose sight of what initially were in place to do every single day. And I guess what I'm just asking is that we tighten our ship a little bit and keep those procedures that we had when we first started back into the school buildings. And I agree with you, Mrs. Bird, the wipes are what the teachers really want because they're quick. They can wipe down and throw it away. The spray sprays all over and it gets wet, and I don't know about the quality of paper towels in the school you work, but our paper towels, you need to use half the roll to dry things. So it's just efficiency. When you're in the classroom and a child has touched something or moved something, you want to wipe it down for the protection of everybody. So that's why I think the wipes were. And when we started, it was wipes. You were going to get wipes and you were going to get the spray. And then all of a sudden the wipes went away and we have the spray. There was also questions about what's in the spray. And we have some really smart science teachers, and they investigated it, and they had a lot of questions about the spray. And we worked that out with administration and kind of, the facilities director, kind of explaining to them that it is safe and it's diluted and it's not the strength that when they're reading off the label. But these are questions that the staff have, and they all have to be addressed. And I don't have all the answers. I would like to have my own Mrs. Amy help with me every day to answer these questions because I don't have the answers. But I want the staff to get the answers, and I don't want them to be frustrated that they're not getting the answer. So that was my concern.
Okay, so we will continue to have our monthly meetings,
Yeah.
and as you bring up the questions, as you did last 2 weeks ago, I believe we gave you the answers to the questions that you had, and between you and myself, we shared the answers with staff. So if there's any more new answers, I encourage you to put them on the agenda, and we'll talk about them at the superintendent's roundtable that we have with the union. Okay?
We have just for the board, it's called a SAC meeting. It's Superintendent's Advisory Committee. We haven't met on a regular basis. As a matter of fact, the meeting I met 2 weeks ago was like an emergency meeting to catch up. My whole team wasn't there. Was just to catch up on some issues that we're hammering away at. But I would like to continue that every month with the full team because I think it's important during this period. So thank you, Dr. Gruccio and the board.
Mr. President, may I just comment?
Go ahead, Mr. Price. Yeah, I think we can do this, guys. We all want the same things, right? So let's move forward. Let's meet and let's do it. Mr. Price and Mrs. Sullivan next.
Okay, I think we're picking up feedback somewhere. But Ms. Lazen, it's great to see you tonight. Thank you for coming out and bringing us up to date on what it is that's going on, because it's very important that everybody gets what they need to protect themselves. And if they want wipes, they should have wipes. If they want spray, have spray. Give them both, and then use whatever it is that they're going to need. But have more than enough available, because we don't want to, play around with something like this. And I think the point was well taken tonight. And we're with you, and we want to make sure that everybody is safe and healthy. So again, thank you for coming out tonight.
Well said. Well said. Mrs. Sullivan.
When you were making your comments, I really did notice another word should have been in there, and it was fear, because your voice trembled when you were talking about the stress and what the teachers are going through. Now, I do have personal experience, and I want the teachers to know this. They can all listen to this. My daughter was put on quarantine because her teacher in her classroom was positive. There was she, 3 paras, and the students. And she is in an MD class, which the students do not keep their masks on ever. It's just the nature of the game there.
When she was called that she had to quarantine, there was fear in her voice. She had so much stress, she couldn't stand it because she has a little one at home. I watched the little one. My husband's compromised. She was petrified. After talking to me and knowing the steps she had, and also to take off the time, what should she do? There's options. So after talking to me, and I had the answers, she was great. Fortunately, nobody else in the class had any symptoms. 3 of them got tested, and none of them had the COVID. It was wonderful. But it shows that it all comes down to communication. And maybe we should, I'll talk to the board members about it, maybe we should set up a hotline where people who are really, have a really pending question that they really need an answer to, they can go to our administrators always with questions. They can go to their school, their principal. That I think that will allay a lot of the fears. Is the more communication we have, the better it's going to get. And I appreciate the custodians, everybody in the district, the food servers, they all have the same fear. And I just think if we open up those lines a little bit more, that hopefully those fears will go away.
Any other board members? Anything else? Mrs. Slot?
I'm not going to repeat anything other than thank you. Thank you to all of our staff. I know that this was not part of taking the job, but it's what we're all dealing with, and we appreciate everything that they're doing.
Okay, thank you all board members. Thank you, Mrs. Waz, and thank you to all the staff, all the teachers, everyone. I see this as maybe a course correction. So maybe we just have to, just step up in certain areas, communicate better. This is tough. None of us signed up for this. But you guys are on the front lines, and we appreciate it very much. And we can do this. We really can.
Mr. Castellano, I'd also like to direct the public, which we did share that on the website under EHT Ready. There's those icons that I showed at the one meeting. So you click on it, so there's an icon that says contact tracing. You click on it, it says Appendix 19. So it's part of the plan and the policy that you passed, and it gives some links to for information. So the information is in writing, and maybe we just have to direct people again to those icons. There's health and safety, there's classroom readiness. So I don't know, perhaps that'll help a little bit tonight. And I'm looking right here at Appendix A, critical areas of operation, general health and safety guidelines. So hopefully that'll help as well. Okay, anything we could do?
Very good. So before I look to adjourn, again, I just want to thank everyone. These are not easy times. We appreciate the community coming together, our students, obviously our teachers and staff, our administration, working very hard. I want to thank the board. We get it. It's tough. This is a tough time. This is a tough time for everybody. And now we're heading into what seems to be an even tougher time. And we hope we see a light at the end of the tunnel. But anything we can do to course correct now and make things better, we're absolutely going to do it for you. So with that, I'm going to wish a happy Thanksgiving to everyone. It may not be the same Thanksgiving that we're all used to, but I hope it will be happy and thankful for everyone. Please be safe. Please, everyone, do your part to keep each other safe.
24th meeting.
And I'm going to ask for a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
By acclamation, and we are adjourned.